This topic is regarding group homes. There is no funding for group homes. There are 2,088 individuals awaiting their forever homes. My 26-year-old son wants to live his life and make choices. What is going to be done to support our most vulnerable citizens?
I lived in Aurora, and there are several group homes. Wonderful facilities for guys and women to be able to have their kind of life that they wish. Unfortunately, the NIMBYism and trying to get a group home into an area is unbelievable. There are so many hurdles for them to overcome because they will need staff. In some cases, the staff stay all night. In some cases, the staff are only there during the day. But generally speaking, York Region does provide funding, as I understand it, for the group homes. The biggest problem is trying to get you as residents to understand they are not going to harm anyone. They are very good facilities. There's 3 or 4 or 5 people staying in a group home. That's it. They come and they go, and they have their own privacy and their own independence, and they deserve that.
There are a couple of things I want to say about this. First of all, none of us would feel that it's appropriate for, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Ben. None of us would feel that there's anything wrong with what Ben wants. Right. And it's appropriate. The biggest issue, and I would say yes to Gloria's point, but the more serious issue is the funding one and the shortage. And I can tell you stories. I can tell you things that would bring tears to your eyes. The question of mental health in this province is crisis. And I'm sorry, I don't have time. An all-party committee has worked on this, and it's something that is very much there in terms of our commitment and the need to do a better job.
I think it's a measure of a society how they take care of their most helpless and their people who need help the most. There's always money, there's always funding for just about anything except the people on the margins that need the most help. We need to have funding for group homes. We need to have funding for caregivers, for seniors, and for shut-ins, and for invalids. And we need to have homeless shelters. We need to take care of those people. Those are our brothers and sisters. And I think we are charged, no matter what your religious affiliation is, I think we're charged with taking care of those people because they're family. And again, I quote my granddad again there, but for the grace of God go I. Any one of us could be in that situation someday. I think it's an important issue, and I think it's one that we really need to address. Thank you.
This is what the NDP is all about. It really is. It's about taking care of each other. There are those who have more, there are those that need help. And you spread it around a little bit, and it makes a difference in someone's life, and that is more valuable than anything. I was canvassing in Keswick this weekend, and I got asked this question on several occasions. As far as actual funding, which I know is what is needed, we need funding, we need the proper training and regulation of staff for this. I can say that we do have a large healthcare budget, and this is a priority for the NDP. One day, unfortunately, Ben's mom will not be here. Yeah, and it's reality. I know. All our moms, my mom too. And there needs to be someone there, so for your peace of mind, as much as to take care of him, so you know that there's someone there for him, and he can live an independent life.
So this is a medical question, and the question is, will you work with alternative medicines as a complement to the current system, i.e. chiropractic, naturopathic, etc.?
Alternative medicines have their place. They really do. Chiropractic can help. I work as a court reporter and I deal with a lot of accident benefit cases, and there are people who say that acupuncture and all that really does help them. What I think helps them more than anything personally is the fact that somebody sits there and talks to them for an hour. 10 minutes with a doctor listening to your problems just isn't enough. And with our primary healthcare shortage, it really needs to be addressed. The issue with alternative healthcare is that, of course, we have to pay out of pocket, and that's not fair. I would suggest an implementation of some sort of you pay and then you can apply to have the money tax credited. I think there's a tax credit, but you can apply to get the money back, because if you do feel that it works for you, then even if it's just that person listening to you for an hour, then you feel better, and that's what's important.
We need community health centers, and I think there's a place for alternative medicine in a community health center. I know a lot of people that benefit from alternative treatments, and it's a lot of times a lot less expensive. I know myself, I have problems with my back. My doctor wants me to go have $10,000 worth of surgery. Once a month I go to the chiropractor, and she stretches and pulls and beats on me, and I walk out and I can walk again, and I feel good. And I can get chiropractic for the rest of my whole life for less than what the back surgery will cost. So I think it has a place. I think we should look at it as part of our preventative medicine measures, and I think it should be in our community health centers.
Yes, thank you for the question. I feel that at this point we're constrained. We're constrained by the Canada Health Act, and also by, as a consequence, by OHIP in terms of what is covered because of the details of the Canada Health Act. However, that's not to say that I am not aware, or in fact I'm personally aware of the benefits of a much broader approach to keeping healthy and medicine in general. But it's a bigger discussion, and I think that it's one whose time will come as more and more questions come up, as more and more people are able to talk about their own personal experiences and the benefits, but we're not quite there yet. And but that's not to say that we can't move in that direction. Thank you.
Alternative healthcare has its place in medicine. A lot of doctors, when they're going through their training, are having a segment of that being taught to them. And so the place for chiropractic, alternative healthcare, alternative medicine, particularly when you look at the Asian community, there's so much to be learned from those specialized ancient cures or treatments. However, we need to ensure that we are safe within the regulations and the requirements that you've got a trained professional. That, of course, is not a chiropractor. They are, in fact, as you know, doctors. But any person that is going to be treating alternative medicine needs to be fully qualified so that you are safe and are getting the treatment that you need. Our government is very favorable of looking at alternative medicine. Thank you.
Now we're going to open up the question period to the candidates. They may pose a question to a particular candidate or to all their fellow candidates. The question must be asked in 15 seconds, and the candidate whom the question was directed to will be given 30 seconds to reply. The candidate who asks the question will be given 15 seconds to respond. All candidates will have an opportunity.
My question is to Julia. Why would you vote against the opportunity for the Auditor General to inform the voters as to the state of the province's finances prior to an election?
The parliamentary process means that, generally speaking, bills are covering a wide range of items. And so it could have 87 different things that you vote on. And there may be, most of them you agree with, but there are some on principle that you do not. And so when you ask a question like that, that's the answer, that it's in a package and you have to accept. Are you going to accept all the aspects of it or not? You can only do one way or the other. My question is to Gloria. The Liberal government has doubled Ontario's debt in 8 years. How will you manage spending responsibly in the next 4 if you form government?
First of all, we have a plan. It's being costed by a chief economist, and we're well aware that we need to be very careful with how we proceed in the next 2, 3, 4 years because of the possibility of another recession. We have created many jobs, and we are looking forward to those taxes coming off those jobs to help pay that down. Thank you.
This is to all candidates. The Thane smelter plant has gone through 2 governments, and it's still sitting there, a potential environmental disaster for Lake Simcoe. What is your government going to do about it?
It's all 3 governments, by the way. It's been monitored by the Ministry of the Environment since 1970 or 72, the question of the smelter is one that has obviously bedeviled all 3 governments. My commitment is to continue to work with York Region, Ministry of Environment, Georgina, the owner, to bring this about to a conclusion, a safe conclusion.
We as a government have realized that this is a big, huge mess that has been created by regulations that weren't in place years and years and years ago. Therefore, we have set up a stakeholder committee to review what can be done. It's my understanding that the owner has actually backed away from this project, and we are asking for an environmental assessment to see how we can get this project cleaned up, because it's polluting. Thank you.
The issue is once again with water contamination and it contributing to that. It would have to be a process of environmental assessment, but I would push that it should be cleaned up. It's a mess and an eyesore. My question is to Julia. At the Sandy Cove debate, you denied that the Hudak government was going to strip the conservation authorities of their power or limit their power in any way. But you...
I stand with that position. I have a letter that Mr. Hudak wrote to Conservation Ontario, and nowhere in it does he mention any of those things.
Do I get my 15-second rebuttal?
Mm-hmm.
And I quote, from Mr. Hudak, this is not going to be easy, but it is the right thing, and we are going to do it.
Can I still continue on with Megan's question? Julia, the previous government, your government, undertook to completely dismantle the funding for conservation authorities to the fact that they ended up being basically flood control. What is your government going to do to ensure that we need conservation authorities to protect the Lake Simcoe watershed?
We're going to continue working with the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority to protect lakes, water, or rivers, and land. And so, as I've already said, we're going to continue working with them.